Helping our elders when they need assistance should not be seen as exceptional, nor should it be used to differentiate between kind-hearted individuals and those who are less considerate. Assisting elderly people in need should be a collective responsibility that everyone is ready to fulfill when necessary. Sadly, this is not always the case. It seems that people are becoming more self-centered in today's society, with some unaware of their surroundings. Nevertheless, there are still individuals who show that hope remains alive. Rose Grease, age 89, had spent more than half her life with her beloved husband, David Grease, who was 11 years her senior. They chose not to have children, a decision made when they were young. They prioritized work and leisure over parenthood. Despite this, they were always surrounded by people who loved and cared for them as family. Rose was a nurse and David was a renowned cardiologist. They met while working in the cardiology unit at an Orlando hospital and married after just 2 years of courtship. Living in a beautiful home in one of Orlando's best neighborhoods, they enjoyed traveling and had visited so many countries that it became hard to keep track. However, as they aged, their health declined, especially David's. Despite a healthy lifestyle, he suffered from infantile heart disease and diabetes, the disease he had dedicated his life to fighting. Rose also faced age-related ailments, notably osteoarthritis, which made it challenging for her to walk without a walker. This made it difficult for her to carry out daily activities and care for her older, more ailing husband. Did that mean the couple would give up on living? Of course not. Neither David nor his wife were intimidated by the passage of time and fought to the end to maintain their independence and not end up bedridden, surrounded by nurses tending to them. "You shouldn't drive and walk around by yourselves. Please let me help you," Molly, a niece of David's, pleaded with her aunt and uncle every time they had to get around and refused to let her drive the car. "The state keeps renewing my driver's license because they still consider me fit to drive. Why would I argue with them? Thank you, Molly dear, but we can still go to the doctor's office by ourselves. I need to keep feeling that I can do things on my own. Otherwise, I'll start to think I'm getting old, and I won't let that happen," replied, giving no room for discussion. Rose and her husband, as is normal for people of such advanced age, had to go to the doctor regularly, and to everyone's astonishment, they still did it without anyone's help. Rose was the one who always drove the car. What they didn't know is that on that occasion, their decision to be so independent would have serious consequences and would end up forcing them to do what they like least to let themselves be helped. It all started when Rose and her husband David were returning from a medical appointment in Orlando, Florida, where they had done several blood tests on David and a small stress test, normal tests given the diseases he was suffering from. At the hospital, everything went normally and they had only 30 minutes to drive home. When they had only driven 10 kilometers, David felt the urgent need to go to the bathroom. "You have to stop, Rose, now please. I'm sorry, I won't be able to hold it until I get home. Like it or not, my urinary system is as old as I am, and we all know they're not a few," pleaded her husband, who was in the passenger seat, trying to stay in a good mood despite the discomfort. "All right, I'll stop, don't worry. Anyway, I need to go to the bathroom too." "I'm not a little girl either, remember," she replied wryly as she looked for a place to stop. A few minutes later, Rose made a stop at a nearby gas station so she and her 100-year-old husband David could go to the bathroom. As might be expected, the walk to the gas station restrooms wasn't easy for the couple. Rose pulled her walker while David walked, holding on to her with difficulty. It wasn't easy, but they made it. Things got more complicated later as the two seniors were about to return to their vehicle after going to the restroom. Both were exhausted, especially David, who'd been left tired by the hospital tests. Rose was struggling with her walker, visibly shaking from the effort of simply walking, and David was in a similar state. It didn't look like they were going to make it to the car. It seemed that at any moment, either of the elderly couple would fall to the ground. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon in January, and the temperature was cold but pleasant, although it had been windy and cloudy all day, which meant that there was hardly any traffic in the area that was normally full of tourists. Rose had to stop to gather her strength and told her husband to wait by her side. It seemed the elderly couple was totally alone in the face of danger, and they'd have to make it through without help, despite the risk to their health. But the truth was that they were not alone. Inside the gas station, having a coffee break, was Officer Kanisha Carnegie, who saw the whole scene through the glass. "Oh God, those two old people need help. I should help them and call an ambulance. It doesn't look good," the agent said to herself as she took the last sip of her coffee and prepared to leave to help the couple. However, Kanisha was not the only one who realized the elderly were in trouble that afternoon at the gas station. There was someone else, namely 3 more people who would play the lead role in a tender scene that would captivate millions of people. The young policewoman was on her way to help them when a group of 3 men rushed up to them and offered assistance. David was about to fall when the arm of what appeared to be the youngest of the 3 held him firmly and helped him up. "Hold on to my arms, sir. Are you all right? Can we help you with anything? Are you in pain?" said the young man, very worried, while he stabilized the old man who was barely standing. For her part, Rose, who was still pulling the walker, trembling while she watched over her husband, received the warm help of the other two men. "Ma'am, are you all right? Do you want us to call a doctor? Take you somewhere? You shouldn't be here alone," another of the boys suggested tenderly as they each held her on one side and helped her to sit on a nearby seat. Those three mysterious men who seemed to come out of nowhere were the famous Orlando rappers Jock Joe, Sto Marty, and Freddie, who'd been buying some snacks at the gas station when they saw Rose and David through the window. Slowly, the three men helped the pair to their car, and once there, they made sure they weren't left alone and received medical assistance so they could get home. "We'll take care of calling an ambulance, don't worry. Do you want something to drink or eat?" Teddy asked, seeing the weakened state of the elderly couple. David, who was beginning to feel better, thanked them for their help and recognized his mistake in trying to do everything by himself. "I'm 100 years old and still haven't learned how to ask for help. Can you believe it? You're very kind to help us, but surely you have more interesting things to do than help an old couple," replied the old man with resignation. "Don't say that, sir. We'll be glad to help you." Seeing them, I couldn't help thinking that it could be my grandmother standing there alone, shivering and with no one to help her. Marty replied kindly. "Do you always travel alone in a car? Don't you have anyone who can give you a ride or call for a cab?" Fred asked, intrigued to learn more about how two elderly people had gotten into that situation. Rose, aware of the extraordinariness of their situation, laughed and resigned herself to admitting the truth that had brought him there, even though that would involve admitting how wrong they were. "We have many people who love us and who've offered us their help on numerous occasions, but we refuse to accept it because we want to continue to feel free and young till the end. Although it's more than obvious that this isn't the case. If you hadn't intervened, we'd probably be in serious trouble now. Thank you very much for helping us. We're indebted to you," answered the older woman with gentleness. "We're glad to assist you. If I may offer some advice, don't let pride or fear dictate your lives. As we age, needing more help for simple tasks doesn't make us weak. However, it can distance us from those who care about us. Remember that," one of the rappers kindly advised. While they conversed, one of the men went to the gas station to purchase drinks and cookies for them to rehydrate and regain strength. The elderly couple, thirsty and hungry, found this snack to be a delightful treat. "Ah, butter cookies, my favorite. You're my savior," David exclaimed upon seeing the box, though he knew he couldn't indulge too much. He needed something to eat to elevate his blood sugar levels quickly. Agent Carnegie, inspired by the unfolding scene, recorded the entire interaction and decided to share the clip on Facebook, detailing everything that had transpired and her feelings about it. The video was well received, accumulating over 5 million views in a few weeks. Social media was flooded with comments praising the rappers for their kindness. The compassion of these young rappers gives us hope for future generations. Caring for those in need should not be a rare occurrence, but a constant practice, the message concluded.